lot of people ask us, well, I got a bar that's actually pretty small, and how do I fell bigger trees than when my bar will go through the whole entire tree? In this video, we're going to show you how to do that. Basically, in a nutshell, what it is you're going to start one side and then finish it on the other side. Super simple, super easy to do that. This video is going to walk you through how to do it. We got a pretty good sized pine tree we're taking down in the campground. We're actually going to cut pretty low because they have a tendency of putting steel into the trees. So we're going to see if we can get out of this without drawing a chain. Basically, have no hammer and wedges today. We forgot to put them into the truck because we had to switch trucks today. But got a rope in the tree when the skid steer is going to pull it over for us. So today, traditional face cut. We're going to bore into one side of the tree, do half the work, come on to the other side, and do the other half of it. If you want to see how to bore trees and things like that, we have videos on our channel. If you just click the link below, you'll be able to get to that video. So here we go today. Basically, I'm just using my sight line on top to establish the direction that I want the tree to go. So I'm just going to go in, make my face cut around about a 60-degree angle or so. It doesn't have to be super specific or anything like that. This is just a flopping on the ground kind of thing, so it really doesn't matter. I'm going to try and keep all my planes on the same level, so nothing kind of goes crazy, and it keeps me in having good practices all the time. Just going to go down. Some rules of thumb that people stick by: go in about 80% of the diameter. So if it is a 10-inch tree, the distance that the face is across is about 8 inches or so, and go through, make it, and do my plunge cut. So here we go. One of the problems that you're going to come into in a situation like this is it's easy to tip one way or the other way, and what you end up doing is I come out and I see how level the bottom of my bar is with the ground. That helps me gauge how far down I've gone in and make sure that this face is relatively level or perpendicular to the tree is how I try and do it most of the time. So if the tree has a little bit of a lean to it, a lot of times my face will have a little bit of a lean to it. That way it makes it so that the fibers, when they bend, they're bending in nice 90-degree angles so that they're the strongest that way. Now the key is going to be to line both of the cuts up. So what I end up doing is I'm going to get my eye so that way I can look right straight down my top cut. And as I'm doing my bottom cut and coming around this bottom side, I get it so that the tip of my bar is in line with this top cut. So when I go to the other side and I finish off this piece of wood that my bar hasn't cut yet, I hit relatively close. So that way my cuts are nice and lined up, and I don't have to do too much work to get them to be nice. So basically now I'm just going to stick it right in my top cut, come right down, and don't bury my tip down into it too much, because then I'll be going below my bottom cut that I've made over here as well. So I'm going to basically try and keep this nice and level and go right around and connect the dots basically. That's basically it. Sometimes with larger trees you'll have to have to fix the sides or whatever, so that way so that way they both all come together and this is a nice straight line. If you don't, what ends up happening is it could change a little bit of the angle that the tree is going to be going, but that's if you go in like a couple inches or whatever. But that's basically it. We went down nice and low, so that way there's no steel or anything like that. And a lot of times with pines and oaks and things like that, there'll be a little discoloration in the wood. If there's a piece of steel that's in the vicinity, basically. I don't see any of that, so far so good. I'm gonna go to this downhill side, bore in, do half of it, and then come to this side, bore in, do the same thing, leave a little bit of backstrap. We'll turn the machine on, and that guy's just gonna pull it over for us. And it's basically just a safety, so we didn't have to do it if the tree didn't go, because we forgot our wedges today. So you can kind of see what I did there is I used my bottom face to help align my saw with the plane of my cut. So that way, when I bore in here, it's not at a different angle. So that way, when I'm finishing, if the tree goes a little too early, what can happen is it can take my saw with me if the two cuts kind of miss. So I kind of want to line the two cuts up as best as I can. So that's why I went through here. I established the plane that my saw is going to be on. I kept that by just going straight back and then right in. So that way, this height right here is the same. So I'm just going to plunge straight in. That way it's nice and kind of parallel with each other. Another trick for you. And basically I'm doing the same thing. I'm bringing it back and I'm checking my bar right here with how parallel it is to this right here. So that way when I go in, my hinge size is relatively uniform all the way across. Sometimes you can have it so your tip's back a little farther, and it makes it so that way it's kind of V-shaped in the back, and it makes it extra big, so then the tree won't want to go over when you want it to. So you'll have to do a little stuff in later to get it to do it. If you're using hammer wedges, we're using a machine and it's not going to care. And I'm going in, and all of a sudden my saw dives in a little bit. That's where I kind of hit my other two cuts. So my tips are good, but I'm a little tiny bit off on the planes, but that's okay. I'm gonna go right in, bury the saw nice and far in, go all the way back so I have a little bit of back strap. We'll get the skid steer all ready to go, and it's just gonna pull it over for us. Okay, babe, go ahead. I'm gonna get him all screwed up. One more. Yeah, that's good. Basically, I just want him to have just a little bit of tension on it, so that way if he has to go and pull, he can, then there's no shocking or anything like that. So I'm gonna go through and just sever it. You can see my lines are actually pretty close. Well, when we look at our bottom, cool thing that you can do, what a lot of loggers will end up doing is you see them actually bore into the tree, and they'll use the attack side. So they'll go through with the top side and start coming backwards, and that's what I did on this side. And what it did is it deposited a whole bunch of this sawdust. right here. So there's a bunch of sawdust in that cut. And what that sawdust does is that acts like a wedge as well. So that this will help pile in there and help keep the tree, if it does sit back on you a little bit, you can get your bar out still. And when you look at what happened here, there was a section where my bar went in pretty well, and then it didn't. So my two planes were just a little tiny bit off, but that was perfect. And you want to be a little bit low. If you're high, then your saw would end up being in the wood of the tree if it kept going on. But if you're a little bit low, it will stay inside the stump. So on your second cut, it's okay to be just a hair lower. So that way it doesn't end up going with the tree when it falls over. But when the tree is too big for your saw, that's something you can do. If we're up a little bit higher, sometimes it's easier to get them to line up a little bit nicer. But we don't really care, because we're just going to cut this nice and low anyway, and we are just trying to keep away from the steel. So if you guys have any questions, leave them below. We'll try our best to answer them, or answer them in a video as well. And just like and subscribe, and hopefully this helps and that allows you to tackle some big trees that are relatively in your skill level. If you could do it, we would love it. So that way it's less trees for all the tree guys to cut, because they just keep growing.